Good morning to each of you, here with an update on my Lenten reading going on this season before Easter. I've been reading the entire New Testament, and some of you have been reading along with me, and good job for you who are doing that. If you didn't read along with me, that's okay. You can always do the same readings after Easter. I've got a reading chart in the description below if you want to know the order that I was reading everything. The last week feels like we really just blew through a lot of books of the Bible. Once we finished the book of Romans, we did Thessalonians, which is considered to be one of the oldest books in the Bible, and then we did Galatians, which is another one that is really old, may even be the oldest. Then we did Corinthians, and then we did Philemon and Colossians and Ephesians and Philippians, and today doing Timothy, Titus, and Timothy. And then on Friday, we start the book of John. And then we finish out the Gospel of John, and we finish out the 3 letters of John, and then Revelation, and we are done. The first half of this time together, it feels like we had a lot of the longer books, and then this last week has been a lot of the really short books. So I got a story for you. I want you to imagine, it's not really a story, it's just more of a thought experiment. But imagine that you did something wrong, and your mother comes to lecture you about it. And your mother is just really tearing into you, just saying all the bad and terrible things that you did, just really giving you the works. And here's the thing. She's right. Everything you did that she's complaining about, she's not really complaining. She's calling you out because you did some bad stuff. Now imagine that instead of her giving you that lecture, she writes it all out in a letter. Now imagine that that letter was not just to you, but to your whole community. And now imagine that somebody else reads that letter. How are you going to feel? Probably be pretty embarrassed. Now imagine that 100 years later, people are still reading that letter. 1,000 years later, people are still reading and rereading that letter. 2,000 years later, people are still reading that letter that just takes you to task for all the things you did wrong. There's a lot of letters in the New Testament that are sort of like that. Corinthians in particular. I feel really sorry for the church in Corinth because this letter that just embarrasses them is now part of our Bible and what we read and study. There's one guy in the book of Corinthians that's mentioned for having an inappropriate relationship with his mother-in-law. Not a good thing to do by any means, but this guy is like forever branded as that guy who had the inappropriate relationship with his mother-in-law. I mean, how embarrassing. So I think it's important to have that context as we read these scriptures and remember that these were letters written to people, and now we are rereading those letters and studying them and asking, are we like the people in that community? This has been a lot of fun. I look forward to talking to you next week, and we'll be talking about John.